You're listening to the Holistic Hippie RN. I'm your host, Laura Gibby, quirky nurse, holistic healer, and transformational coach. Here to empower you to take charge and create balance so you become the green thumb of your life and begin consciously cultivating the life you desire, where you flourish and thrive. Think of this as the greenhouse of growing possibilities that will challenge your way of thinking through mindset shifting, holistic tips, and energetic up-leveling. I am so excited to have you here today, so let's get growing. Hello and welcome. I hope you are having a beautiful day out there. It is sunny and not a cloud in the sky out here, which I love. Although this afternoon I think it'll be in the mid to high 90s, which I'm still thinking about how I feel about that. It's crazy because it seems like winter just started not too long ago, even though it's been a while. And it seems like it should be spring, but really it's warming up, and it's almost summer. I think my little guy gets out of school in about 2 weeks. And I just think, where did the time go? Where did the school year go? It's interesting when you have children in school because it really gauges how time flies. For me, at least. It really just kind of makes me consider how quickly it can go by at times. So I have been thinking about some things that happened earlier this week. I always love writing down inspired action. I love telling people to write down inspired action, and I love telling people to take those inspired actions because I like to call those like our downloads. It's what we're getting from the universe for us to take action on. And those are some of the things, those ideas that come through unexpectedly, no matter how unusual they might seem. Those are things that are aligning you and guiding you towards your vision for yourself, towards the vision for your life, towards the things that you would desire to attract in your life. And so anyways, I was doing an energy session for myself this week. And actually, I tend to do like little mini energies, but this time I had been sitting and kind of doing my journaling and my Zen time before I got started in my day. And I thought to myself, ooh, I think I need to do an energy session, like a big deep dive. It's been a while. So I did. And my inspired action that came up during this energy session was actually to create a course to teach other people how to work energy. And I thought it was interesting because I think a lot of times we tend to not realize that what we know other people might not know or might not feel second nature to them. And I say that because there's a lot of things that in my case, I tend to just assume people know or assume people are aware of. And it made me think, oh, other people probably would enjoy learning things like that. Just like, other people would enjoy learning tons of things that are out there. But I think it's such a huge thing to be able to work with your own energy, because when you work with your own energy, you're really tapping into being guided by the universe. You're clearing stuff that's gotten junky in your energy, and it allows you to start shifting into a place of balance. And we can work towards our vision and our dreams all the time in our life. But when you work towards it from a place of balance, you really start to create more momentum behind that. Because you're in a calmer place, you're more mindful, it's easier for you to assess and take action versus reacting to different things as they come up. And so I wrote that down and I thought, okay, well, I am going to take this inspired action. I'm going to create a course. And I created this course in a handful of days. It's a little micro course. It's called Energy, Oils, and Chakras. And what I love about it is, A, I realize taking my inspired action moves swiftly when I choose to take that action. And B, I realize that it feels really good to buckle down and do something that lights me up, which I talk about it all the time, but it's so nice to just step into it when it might be a little bit since I've stepped into it. In the sense of it's been a while since I deep dove into creating a little course and finishing it all within a few days. Like that kind of swiftness just lights me up. I was so excited after day one. I literally got that inspired action. I mapped it out. I sat at the computer and I think I created the whole notebook for this within a handful of hours. And then the next day I created all the videos for it. And then I just did more of like the editing and organizing type of stuff. But what's really cool is tapping into those inspired actions and taking them. And I say that because a lot of times it's not recognized that our inspired actions are going to move us swiftly, are going to move us quickly along the path that is designed for us. And so I highly recommend sitting with yourself and asking for inspired actions. I find a lot of times in the middle of the night I wake up and start writing down whatever comes in, because those are my downloads of ideas I should do. For me, I have been sleeping so good, but last night I woke up at 2 a.m. and had so many ideas just flowing into my mind, which makes me think of how I tapped into things earlier this week and I took that action. And the universe is like, ooh, she's going to listen. It's about time. So then I got sent a lot more ideas. And I took action on them today too. And it was really cool because, again, it happened very swiftly. And this is something that anyone can do in their life. And this is something that if we stop resisting and getting stuck in our head about the how to do things, and we start being and embodying the person that we would be if we were living our vision and asking for that inspired action so that we can co-create towards our vision, then it starts coming through. And when those things come through, take action with them. And, you know, you can call them inspired ideas because the inspired action is you acting on those ideas. I like to skip the inspired ideas and say inspired action because usually I will be taking action, typically, unless I write it down and forget about it, which has also been known to happen. But one of the ways that I like to do this is sit and do a short meditation and a little bit of breath work or breathing and just kind of call in, you know, the different sources that give me these ideas, that give me these actions that I could take that will lead me towards more of what I would like in my life, that would lead me towards attracting that. Because when you start standing in a place of taking inspired action, then you start moving forward into taking aligned action, because you're aligning your actions with what you need to co-create with the universe to manifest what you would like in your life. And when you step into that energetic vibration, I would say you're pretty much unstoppable. I mean, there are infinite possibilities available to us and opportunities that open up to us every single day. A lot of times what happens is we get stuck in thinking that it's only going to be able to happen a certain way. But when you start inviting in those possibilities that are infinite, then things can come to in any shape or form. And that is why I say it's important to write down your inspired actions, no matter how odd they may seem or how unlikely they may seem, and start taking action on them, because it opens those doors for possibilities that are really aligned with you, no matter how unexpectedly they come in. And it's one of those things too, when you're living in that inspired action and aligned action, I like to call it aligned action once you're really like in the flow of taking your inspired action. But when you start living in that place of it, then it's kind of the sense of that quote, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. So it's like when you're doing what you love, when you're taking those inspired actions, you're so caught up in enjoying that and feeling excited about it, because typically these are things that will bring you excitement. Even if they bring you some discomfort at first sometimes, usually it results in a feeling of excitement and joy because it's meant for you. And so when you really start tapping in to following that, you don't think as much about how things need to come in for you because they start unfolding for you and you're living in the present. You're more present because you're sitting there enjoying what you were doing versus sitting there waiting for something to happen. And I think that's one of the most amazing things for us because it's very easy. I don't want to say very easy, I guess, but a lot of times we get stuck in our heads thinking about how do I create what I would like versus how can I be today that will create what I like. And it's the be to have model of if I am being the desired feeling, then I will take the inspired action to have what I would like, and that will be created for me. And so a lot of times I talk about how it's important to start being a certain way, to cast your vision and consider how you'd be feeling in your vision, how would you be acting in your vision, what, would you be doing, and even like right down to very minute little things, because it's the minute little things in your vision that you might be doing that you can already do in your life. Like for me, one of mine would be, I would be going to sushi probably weekly because I love eating sushi. So in my vision, I'm having sushi regularly, maybe even more than weekly because I love sushi. And that's a really little thing. I can go to the store and buy myself sushi and start embodying that minute detail in my vision. If it's the case that you're going to go through the drive-thru and be getting a cup of coffee once a week, once a day in your vision, then start doing that here and there in your current life. If you're exercising every day, doing yoga every day or something like that in your vision, then start doing that and incorporating into your life. Those are little minute things that your dream self is doing. And when you start embodying your dream self, your dream life begins to unfold. So that's why it's important to take your inspired actions too, because a lot of times those actions are aligned with what your higher self is going to be doing as your higher self. There's, little actions that your higher self would be doing. There's little habits your higher self would have that you may not have incorporated yet. And when you start incorporating those habits, it starts you on the path towards that. When you start incorporating those feelings, it starts you down the path towards having what you would like, because you are essentially embodying your dream self. And when you start embodying your dream self, you start becoming your dream self, because it's kind of like with a habit, when you start having a habit, when you start forming a habit, you start to do it regularly. And at some point in time, that habit becomes so ingrained that it seems abnormal to not do it, right? So when you start embodying your dream self, you're building that habit of doing what your dream self is doing. And as you build into that habit, it seems unusual to ever stop it. And then you are that closer to having built that layer of your dream self. Kind of like I noticed a couple years ago when I first started doing some really in-depth mindset work. I started with this mindset work, and I remember some challenge came up. I don't remember the challenge offhand, but I remember a challenge coming up. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I remember how I would have normally navigated this challenge prior to starting the mindset work that I had been doing. And I realized it was actually easier for me to just continue what I had been practicing instead of reversing and going back down that hill, because that hill had gotten so tall that I had built from the habits I had been doing to shift my mindset, that it no longer seemed like the easy option to use the old habits I had had over almost my entire life of how I would have approached that challenge. So I want to say that because I want you to start thinking about the path that you take towards your transformation, the path that you take towards attracting what you would like in your life, and look back over the path and start considering, at what point are you noticing that it is easier to continue doing new habits you've built versus reverting back to the old ones because they seem easier. Because eventually these new habits are easier than the old ones. And not only are they easier, they're better. And you feel better in the long run. And that just, that's the outcome of when you become more mindful in your life, when you become more intentional and aware of the things that are in your life. And that comes from a place of balance. And when you have that place of balance, it's almost like things will move slower when a challenge arises so that you can approach that challenge from the balanced position that you're living in versus approaching it from a sense of chaos. That feeling when something happens and you might get the jitters and all of a sudden you're like, oh, what do I do? You feel so thrown off because that challenge was, something that you were already imbalanced, and then it really gets you going. You're kind of just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And you react versus when you're living in a place of balance and you've been working on not even working on your different habits, but you've been living with these new modalities that you've learned and it's becoming a lifestyle, then you have more calmness to operate from and you can see the challenge as it's happening and consider it and approach it and take action. I like to say take action towards it versus react, because you're not reacting because you're choosing your action more so. It's a choice as opposed to saying eat. So I really love that, because the more you create a mindset shift, an energetic shift, even a physical shift as a lifestyle, then the more you step towards your own vision. And if you think about how right now some of your bad habits might be your lifestyle, you get to still choose to release those because they're not serving you. And you get to choose to learn, research, and create new habits that will create a much better lifestyle for you. One of the best ways to do that is to take inspired action, because that's the ideas and the information coming in for you that's going to be the best fit for you. We're all different, we're all unique, and different modalities will serve us differently than someone else. Something is going to serve you better than how something serves someone else. For example, someone might really, really benefit a ton from meditation, and someone else might benefit more from doing breath work. And that's just because of how they're wired. And that's just because we're all different from each other, And when you listen and ask for those inspired actions, those are the things that are really going to align you with the path you get to take towards becoming a bigger and better self, towards really stepping into your power. And honestly, I think that's one of the most empowering things, because asking for inspired action, asking for downloads, learning how to be intentional in your life and mindful and just be grateful for your life. All of these things are things we get to choose. And when we realize we have this choice in our life and that we get to choose, that's very empowering, because it really makes you see how much of your life you get to create, how much more power you have in your life than sometimes we even realize we have. So I highly recommend taking this course, learning about the course that I created, Energy, Oils, and Chakras, because it teaches you how to work with your energy. It teaches you how to shift on that level. And honestly, I always talk about holistic mind, body, and spirit. So if you're not learning how to shift energetically, then definitely tap into how can I shift physically that will create a better life for myself? How can I shift mindfully that would create a better life for myself? And how could I shift energetically that would create a better life for myself? And when you ask yourself those three questions, whatever comes in, the very first thing, write that down, because those are inspired actions. The inspired actions come in right away. And when you pay attention to what comes through and write it down, then you have a little map of what you need to do to start aligning with attracting what you would like in your life. So I hope you really enjoyed this episode, and until next time.